Hey guys, I'm exactly one Sasquatch, and this is what's going to happen next. We're going to talk about what's going to happen next on The Bad Batch. I really wanted to go through and kind of make some predictions on what I think is going to happen. I love the show, and so I'm going to boot up Disney Plus right here, and I'm going to click on The Bad Batch in this last episode and just talk about what I think about like different things when they pop up. Because there was so much when I first watched this. There was just so much I couldn't remember it all. Oh, by the way, I'm putting it up again. The theme, man. Oh, I love the Bad Batch music. Let's go Kiners. I'm assuming that they're the ones that made it. So we open up on Kamino. I love this planet, by the way. It looks so beautiful. We finally see a little more of Crosshair and the Kaminoans. So we start out with Admiral, I think, Rampart, saying, "From now on, I want to be apprised of all matters here, Prime Minister." Dude, what I love about this show is that you can tell that, like, every moment means something. There's a lot of points of dialogue where you're like, I can feel that this is going to connect somewhere. So this first line immediately jumps out to me, makes me think he probably found out about something that he didn't know about and is annoyed. Here's one thing that I'm interested in is what exactly is the relationship right now between the Empire and the Kaminoans? Because like what I remember about seeing the relationship between the Republic and the Kaminoans in Attack of the Clones is it seems like they got contracted for a job, they created clones, and they provide them to the Republic for likely a cost, you know? I would think that business that happens on Kamino is handled by the Kaminoans, and like the Republic was just the recipient of these assets, you know? It makes me think about what is the relationship, what was it, and then what is it now? If I remember correctly, I think it was mostly clones and Kaminoans and the occasional Jedi that was there. But, you know, like Tarkin was here, Rampart is here. Like even in this scene, Rampart is in a room that's designed for Kaminoans to sit on. You know, it's not, this place isn't designed for human beings. So I'm interested if he's overstepping his bounds, you know? Like, I don't know. I was under the impression that Kaminoans handled Kaminoan stuff. And I wonder if this is normal behavior, you know? Is the Empire or Republic the only entity that they do business with? What were they doing before the start of the Clone Wars? This character, Rampart, it seems like he fundamentally, like, morally believes that there's value behind people that willingly enlist and, like, they'd be more committed. But, I mean, in a clone, you just breed them to listen to orders. I mean, each are individuals and stuff, and they do have some feelings, but there aren't too many, like, deserters. There was, like, Cutler Quain, I think. Like, I think he's just, this guy is, like, missing the mark a little. What I hope is that the show were to focus on the whole, even idea behind the clones, is pay a bunch up front to have a army that Palpatine could 100% control, and then now that he doesn't need 100% control because most of the Jedi are already wiped out, so his opposition is less powerful, then he switches to the cheaper and maintainable Stormtrooper army. I think that makes the most sense. But I'm totally willing to see what else comes down with this. I love this scene about disassembling a thermal explosive. It's actually funny. It's just a little bit believable that Wrecker would really use a live explosive because he goes, "I'm not crazy," which is what everyone's thinking, that he is crazy, and he would do that. That's what made it funny. One thing that is interesting that, again, gets kind of brought up here is that we're talking about Omega again, and she's trying to learn a skill. And one theory that there was, you know, is she force sensitive? You know, she seems very intuitive and personable. She can just kind of look at a person and like figure out stuff about them. She knew that Rex was a Generation 1 right away, which could just be her Kaminoan knowledge because she's lived there her whole life. She kept copying everything that Hunter was doing in like the first episode, which is like, is she picking up on it? Is she learning it really quickly? Or is she just a kid and wants to imitate her father figure? She instantly like recognized Sid. She's like, "That's Sid." We don't know yet how she knows that. And she really like learns how to do stuff really quickly. The bow, like she didn't get it right at first, but then by the end, oh yeah, and then in episode 1, she just picked up a gun and shot Crosshair right away. And she had never done that before. She's not a force sensitive being. That maybe she has either a combination of all the other Bad Batches, she's all of them together, or maybe she has the ability to learn really quickly because all of the other clones have to be trained for, you know, a really long period of time. She literally says in the scene, "I only saw you do it once." And I thought she was gonna do it, you know, like, because it seems like that's what she does, is she picks up on these tactics really quickly. But she didn't. You know, she saw it once, and like a normal person, she doesn't instantly know how to do it. So I don't know if they're trying to throw us off or like what that means, you know. One little interesting thing here, you see the reflection of the scrappers and their binoculars in the distance. And I like that, like, as he and Echo are walking back, they, like, Echo sees it because he's locked in as a soldier, but then Wrecker also knows what the heck's up. You know, I like that. You know, I don't like him just being like this oblivious, funny guy, you know, which I would have thought in a scene like this he would have been based on the arc from the Clone Wars. I like this Wrecker way better than I thought I was going to be getting.
We should leave. In our present situation, we need money, and we have a chance to make a lot of it right here.
But I think it's a pretty good reason that Hunter wants to stay to, you know, make money. Because they're in debt to Sid. Obviously, we know at the end of this, Omega gets captured, and they're probably going to want to just abandon everything and immediately go search for her. You can't owe money to the mob, you know? If Sid's basically a mob boss, you don't want to owe money to the mob. So I'm curious. I wonder if they're going to be like, you know, hey, we're going to just AFK. We're just going to leave because our friend got taken. She's going to be like, you owe me. You can't just leave, you know? And if you leave, I'm going to put a bounty on your head like Jabba the Hutt did to Han Solo, you know? Very interesting. I wonder how that's going to play out.
Not arms smugglers.
Another interesting point by Echo. We're soldiers, not arms smugglers. Is there a difference in philosophy there? You know, Hunter's trying to figure out, like, the war is over, what's our role and everything. It doesn't seem like Echo and Hunter are, like, really at odds, but they mention it a few times. You know, we're soldiers. What other kind of life is there? They mention it later in this episode. So I don't know if that's going to develop into something, but it's interesting. You know, I'm going to keep it in the back of my mind going into the next few episodes. There's another interesting thing that Tech is saying, that the information from the Bridge's central system would be far more valuable than any weapon that we get our hands on. One, I'm not sure if they actually got that information, but I'm interested to know what that information is. You know, I can't think off the top of my head. Let me know in the comments if you guys have an idea about that. I wonder what the information would be that they may or may not have gotten. An interesting line by Echo, and he's talking to Hunter. If we left with Rex, we wouldn't have to owe Sid. I wonder if this is going to come back at all. You know, like, it doesn't really seem too upset. It really just seems like he's talking with Hunter. You know, they're trying to figure out what they should do in the galaxy. But I wonder if that's going to come up, you know, like if Echo's going to rejoin Rex, or if this is just foreshadowing that they're going to join Rex in the rebellion effort at some point. I don't know.
But what was it like?
I just told you.
But
Curious to see if we see more like emotion out of Tech, or if this scene was to show he's just not like that, you know? I don't know. I think it'd be cool if Omega had like a really special bond with all of the members of the Bad Batch. So now we're back with Nala Se and Lama Su, which these are the most interesting conversations in the whole show. Empire's mission on Bracca poses a threat to our contingency plan. Obviously that has to do with Omega. We still don't know what's special about her. I'm gonna guess we get a hint of that by the end of this season. If I'm gonna guess she's Force sensitive. I'm gonna guess she's Force sensitive. The Kaminoans never fully develop that process. The Empire ends up coming and wiping out Kamino because of their political tension between the two, because the Empire wants to switch to stormtroopers. The Kaminoans find another suitor for their clones. The Empire finds that to be a threat. They fight on Kamino and wipe out all the Kaminoans. And then only the Kaminoans could properly work out creating Force-sensitive clones. The Empire wipes out Kamino before they could even perfect the formula, so Omega is the only one that ends up getting produced. And that's why in Mandalorian you see a human, Dr. Pershing, working with the Kaminoan logo on his arm, and they're working on, you know, what looks like Force-sensitive clones, whether that's super soldiers or like Snoke or like something like that, and it doesn't look like it's going all that well. So I wonder if that's what happens here. As soon as I heard him say we have to call upon further assistance, I was like, okay, we're going to see another bounty hunter, because the one bounty hunter they're talking about is Fennec, obviously. And immediately in my mind, the three people I thought of, four, was Aurra Sing, which dies at some point, we don't know when. Boba Fett, obviously, which I guess it's too early for Boba Fett, but I was like, Boba Fett, it could be Boba Fett. Bossk was another person that I thought of, and then I also thought of Cad Bane, and I love Cad. Dude, when I saw this episode and Cad Bane showed up, I literally was like, I'm laying in my bed watching, and I literally went like this, because he's just so cool. Cad Bane's just so cool. They won't be able to detect us blocking his scanners. I like that Crosshair knows the Bad Batch, so he knows their tactics, you know. It comes up a couple of times. This is one interesting thing from this scene as well. When I saw in episode 1 that Omega is talking to Crosshair, and it's just like, you know, I know what you're about to do, but don't, like, and I know it's not your fault. That was one thing where I was like, oh, is she Force sensitive? Can she like feel what his thoughts are and that kind of thing? It seems like she's really apprised to what was going on in the Kaminoan facility, you know? She was like a medical assistant. She knew about the inhibitor chips, apparently. She knows that she doesn't have one, apparently. Maybe there's something else going on, though, that she doesn't know about. Maybe her brain's wired in a different way that someone can control her that doesn't require a chip. I don't know. That's interesting. That's the most interesting thing, is Crosshair getting barbecued. Because here's a couple of possibilities from this. He just gets a lot angrier and more motivated to like hunt down the Bad Batch. The thrust backwards and stuff like hurts his inhibitor chip. Instead of Wrecker turning in the one direction, Crosshair comes back in the other direction. I very much don't think that that's what's going to happen here. I think, if anything, Crosshair is going to die before his inhibitor chip gets taken out, or they do get to successfully take his inhibitor chip out. I'm not sure. That's another interesting thing. Is Crosshair going to stay a villain until he dies? He'll probably have some kind of redemption. I'm curious to see what form that takes. Another one of the possibilities is that, and here's the most likely one that I think it's going to be, is that Crosshair is injured. His eyes got cooked a little, he's severely injured, and he's not useful to Admiral Rampart anymore. I don't know if he wouldn't be permanently useful. That's my guess. I think I would go with he's going to be permanently not as useful to the Empire, and so he'll get sidelined. If that's the case, I'm curious how he'll react. What is his state of mind? His state of mind is mostly controlled by this inhibitor chip. If I were Crosshair, what would I be thinking? And then also, if they sideline Crosshair, do they kill him? Because what are they going to do? Let him go? If they're like, we have no use for you, what, they just let a fairly powerful clone just go into the galaxy? Now, if they do, for some reason, let him go and he's still injured, he doesn't have, orders. If he's a good soldier that follows orders, but he's not getting orders, is he, normal? Like how he would normally be, and he would rejoin the Bad Batch and just be like, yo, I don't have any orders right now. I've been decommissioned. I want to chill, even though he has his inhibitor chip in his head, because he's not being given orders by the Empire. They don't care. Or is he just still evil because those were his old orders if he's not under control by the Empire? Or do they try to kill him, I'm guessing he becomes not as useful, and they're going to maybe try to decommission him, kill him in some way. And then maybe the Bad Batch is able to get to him and take out his chip or something. But those are the interesting possibilities that I'm thinking of with Crosshair. Or he gets injured, but he kind of heals up, and then he gets a Vader-esque kind of suit. He's still in action. He just looks kind of deformed. Also interesting to note, he also failed the mission. He was sent out to find them and terminate them. They ain't dead. They didn't do it. He failed the mission too. So I feel like more ammunition, Project War Mantle to continue. Maybe we see another meeting with Rampart and Tarkin. And Rampart's like, these clones, man, they don't get the job done. Hey, look, you got all messed up. My stormtroopers were fine. Or my death troopers, whatever you want to call them. Here's another interesting thing that I like. When you think about it, it really makes sense that Cad Bane beats out Hunter in a quick draw. Cad Bane has to be on a higher power level than the Bad Batch, because Cad Bane went toe to toe, and did he even kill a Jedi? He goes toe to toe with them, infiltrating vaults, stealing holocrons. I'm pretty sure he had a straight up fight with, was it Quinlan Vos? I might not be remembering correctly from the Clone Wars. These bounty hunters, power level is up there, And I also really like the idea that Fennec ain't getting it done. The Kaminoans are like, we gotta call in the big guns, and they call in Cad Motherfucking Bane, And there's another thing of Omega figuring something out. He's a bounty hunter. What does she know about bounty hunters, and why was she able to tell it already? Does she know who Cad Bane is? Maybe she just knows the Kaminoans and how they work, Maybe they've used bounty hunters before and she knew about it. Or is that some kind of intuition ability or something to do with the Force? We don't know yet. Very interesting to look at too, though. Okay, there's another interesting thing to talk about. We know, obviously, we meaning the viewer, that it's the Kaminoans that hired the bounty hunters to go after Omega. I didn't even think about the fact that in the next couple episodes, the Bad Batch is going to have to figure out who hired them. Who would even want Omega? They have no idea that the Kaminoans would be interested, right? What do they know? They're just finding their way in the galaxy. They have no idea that the Kaminoans have any interest in any of them, I would think. So I'm curious as to how they end up getting apprised of this information. The only thing I can think of is that, they go back to see Sid. Oh, Omega said that's a bounty hunter, so at least Hunter knows it's a bounty hunter, so maybe Hunter and the Bad Batch go and they ask Sid, what do you know about bounty hunters? How do I find a bounty hunter? Here's my theory. They go back, they talk to Sid, talk about bounty hunters. Sid says you use one bounty hunter to find another bounty hunter. Maybe that's where they get introduced to either Aurra Sing, Bossk, or Boba Fett. I'm going to guess Boba Fett, because I don't think the average viewer really cares all that much about Aurra Sing or Bossk, and Cad Bane's cooler than both of them. You're not going to take a step back from Cad Bane, you're going to take a step forward to Boba Fett. So they'll probably be tasked or given the advice to go find Boba Fett. I don't know what they do about paying Sid. And then Boba Fett, because he's really good at tracking. We know that from him tracking Han Solo in Star Wars Episode 5. And he also tracked down Din Djarin in The Mandalorian. I've been tracking a Mandalorian. So, my guess is that's where that goes. And then, yeah, I guess the way that they would find it out would be from Cad Bane. That's my guess. Another interesting topic to talk about. How injured is Hunter? He just got shot right in the chest. I think I would like to see Hunter decently injured for a couple episodes. What, he gets shot in the chest and you're just fine? He got shot in the chest! If I were to guess, I think it's not going to be that big a deal, and after at most one episode, he's just right as rain. I think you get shot in the chest, no matter how good your armor is, you're hurting for a few episodes, you know, unless they do a time jump or something. If that was any other clone, they'd be shot in the chest, they're dead. It's not the biggest deal, but I'd be a little disappointed if Hunter is just fine after getting shot in the chest from, like, I don't know, a couple yards away. But yeah, so overall, if I were to guess, either talk to Sid or someone, find a bounty hunter, and my guess is they're somehow going to get in contact with Boba Fett and try to track down Cad Bane. That's my guess. Their next goal is going to be finding Cad Bane. You know what's going to be really fun? After this season, and I think I'm going to do this for all Star Wars shows, like just theory craft, you know? Theories about what's going to happen next. I just think that's so interesting, because that's the most interesting thing about these shows is the enthralling what's going to happen next. And like the implications for the larger, you know, Star Wars galaxy as a whole. But what'll be really interesting is that I can go back after I make like these videos for each of these episodes and see how right and how wrong, you know. That'd be interesting. You could put in the comments too how correct you think I may or may not be with some of these theories, and then tell me some of yours too. Anyway, so I'm planning on doing at least an episode of these every week. What I even might do is try to do videos daily or every other day to really dive deeper into some of these topics. And then I may or may not do reactions. When I watch things, I tend to like do kind of this, like pause and like think about it and then go to the next thing. So anyway, let me know what you think about some of my theories and stuff in the comments below. See you soon. Hopefully very soon, because the next episode comes out tomorrow at 3 a.m. for me. I'm on the East Coast.